A man stares at his watch, tapping his foot, wondering why the opportunity hasn't arrived yet. A woman checks her inbox every morning, waiting for a reply that never comes. A student refreshes his phone, hoping the notification finally appears. Each of them tied to a clock, measuring worth by hours, days, months. But the truth is this: reality does not obey your calendar. Manifestation doesn't follow the tick of human time, because what you're calling waiting is not how the quantum field organizes possibility. In physics, time is not a straight line. It's a dimension woven into space, elastic, relative, shaped by speed, gravity, and perspective. Einstein revealed that two observers can experience time completely differently, depending on where they stand and how they move. And if that's true in physics, it's also true in your lived reality. The field of potential doesn't care that it's Monday morning or that you want results before the end of the month. It organizes itself around coherence, not deadlines. What collapses a possibility is not a date circled on a calendar, but the signal you're radiating in every moment. Think about it. The nervous system, the most advanced transmitter you carry, does not operate in later. It operates in now. Every cell is pulsing in the present. Every neural circuit is firing here, not in the future you're imagining. Which means when you say, "Why hasn't it happened yet?" you're broadcasting delay as your identity. You're embodying waiting, not arrival. You're teaching your biology to loop the gap, not the outcome. This is why so many feel stuck, because they think they're aligning, but in reality, they're rehearsing absence. They meditate, but with tension in the jaw. They visualize, but while scrolling emails to check if the universe delivered yet. They breathe deeply, but underneath is the clenched impatience of when. The field mirrors that tension back, not because it's punishing you, but because coherence is literal physics. Chaos cannot collapse into clarity. A jagged frequency cannot stabilize a timeline. So let's make it simple. Manifestation doesn't measure time. It measures resonance. Your deadline is irrelevant. Your frequency is everything. The universe does not tick with seconds. It hums with states of being. When your body stabilizes into the vibration of what you desire, the field responds immediately, not on your schedule, but on coherences. Pause here and notice. Does this land for you? If it does, drop one word in the comments, the state you choose to embody this week. Maybe it's calm, maybe it's trust, maybe it's certainty. One word becomes a signal. Now, let's expand. Neuroscience shows that memory and imagination activate almost the same neural networks, which means the brain does not distinguish much between what has happened and what is vividly rehearsed. When you mentally live inside the reality you desire, your nervous system learns it as now. And because your body is the transmitter, the quantum field reads it as now, which is why some people collapse timelines seemingly out of nowhere. From the outside, it looks miraculous. From the inside, it was biology achieving coherence. But here's the trap. When you keep checking the clock, you undo the collapse. You reprogram your body into lack by measuring against absence. You're saying, "It hasn't come yet," which teaches your biology, "I don't have it." And the field mirrors exactly that. That's why the practice is not about waiting patiently, but embodying presently. Not about deadlines, but about dimensional shifts. Not by counting days, by becoming the frequency. And if that feels abstract, picture this. A musician doesn't rush the song to end sooner. They immerse in rhythm and the music unfolds. A gardener doesn't pull on the roots to force them to bloom by Thursday. They embody care, and the plant responds. In both, time bends to the depth of presence, and your manifestations follow the same law. Because here's the paradox. The more you obsess about when, the further you push it. The more you release into coherence, the sooner the collapse. Not by force, by frequency. Not by pushing time, by embodying timelessness. And that's where the shift begins. And let's take this deeper, because if you've ever felt like you're running against the clock, you're not wrong. You're just running against a clock that only exists in your head. Human deadlines are agreements, inventions, structures we created to coordinate society. They help us catch a train, submit a project, meet at noon. But the universe doesn't use your Google Calendar. It's governed by coherence and collapse. And when you confuse your artificial schedule with the way energy organizes, you create resistance that delays the very thing you're trying to bring closer. Think of the last time you were stuck in traffic, glancing at the clock, convinced that every minute late was ruining your day. Your heart rate spiked, your palms tightened on the steering wheel, your breath got shallow. Did that energy make the cars move faster? Or did it lock you deeper into frustration? That's the trap. When you embody impatience, you amplify delay. And that's exactly what happens when you bring deadlines into manifestation. You embody waiting, which teaches your biology to produce waiting. Here's where neuroscience offers a key. Your nervous system doesn't just react to events, it predicts them. Every millisecond, your brain is forecasting what will happen next based on past patterns. If you've wired yourself into things take too long or it never happens for me, your predictive coding literally keeps you experiencing more of that. This is why affirmations often feel empty. If the body is still broadcasting the opposite signal, no words can override it. The shift comes when you embody the arrival, not the wait. That's why I say, timelines collapse not when you count them, but when you dissolve them. Imagine an actor on stage. If he keeps checking his watch during the play, the performance collapses. But when he fully inhabits the role, time disappears, and the audience is swept into the reality as if it's real. That's the power of embodiment. When you live inside the frequency of arrival, your biology can no longer distinguish between rehearsal and reality, and the field follows biology's signal, not your human clock. Think about a scenario you've lived. Maybe you met someone and time seemed to vanish. Hours felt like minutes. Or maybe you were stuck in a boring meeting where minutes dragged into what felt like eternity. Same clock, different experience. Why? Because your state of coherence bends perception of time. And in manifestation, coherence doesn't just bend perception. It bends probability. When you stabilize into a chosen state, the universe organizes itself to meet you there outside of the deadlines you imagined. So when you say, "I need this by Friday," the field doesn't hear Friday. It hears need, it hears lack, it hears tension. But when you say, "It's mine now," and I live as if it already breathes in me, the field hears coherence. That's when probabilities collapse, not because of the date you circled, but because of the frequency you stabilized. Let me give you another frame: sports. A runner doesn't win by staring at the clock. They win by entering the zone where body and breath align so deeply that every step becomes inevitable. In that state, seconds melt and performance spikes. That's coherence in action. And it's the same principle in your reality. So the work is not to rush the field, but to regulate your system, slow the breath, settle the nervous system, teach the body arrival instead of absence. When the body stabilizes, the field responds. When you drop the clock, the collapse accelerates, and suddenly, what you thought would take months can arrive in days, or even hours. Not because the universe finally decided you were worthy, but because you stopped embodying waiting and started embodying being. Which means the real mastery is not controlling when, it's mastering how. Not the deadline, the frequency, not the pressure of time, the precision of coherence. And when you learn that, manifestation stops feeling like waiting at a bus stop and starts feeling like stepping into a reality that was always waiting for you. Here's the strange part. When you stop chasing time, time starts chasing you. Opportunities seem to arrive too early. Synchronicities unfold before you even finish asking, and the people you thought you'd have to wait years to meet appear in your orbit without warning. That's not magic, it's physics. Because once coherence is reached, the nervous system is no longer projecting absence, so the quantum field has nothing left to mirror but arrival. You've seen this in subtle ways before. Remember when you lost yourself in a project you loved, painting, writing, coding, dancing, and hours disappeared without effort. When you finally looked up, the clock had sprinted ahead, yet you felt nourished, not drained. That state is flow, and it bends the rules of time perception because your system enters high coherence. The same mechanism that makes 3 hours feel like 20 minutes is the one that allows your desired timeline to collapse faster than logic would expect. But most people live the opposite. They refresh their bank app every morning, checking if the number grew. They reread the text thread, wondering why the reply hasn't come. They replay conversations in their head, obsessing about when change will show up. Each act is an unconscious ritual of lack. Each moment teaches the body to embody waiting. And because the body is the transmitter, the field collapses waiting, not having. This is why chasing creates distance while becoming creates nearness, not by effort, by coherence, not by pushing, by presence. Neuroscience gives us another layer. The brain is a prediction machine, yes, but it updates its predictions when new sensory input contradicts the old. That means when you embody the arrival so consistently, breathing, moving, and feeling from it, your biology has no choice but to accept it as truth. The subconscious, which runs 95% of your patterns, rewires itself when embodied evidence outweighs old expectation. And once the subconscious shifts, the field must follow, because coherence has been achieved. That's why nervous system regulation is the access point. A dysregulated system keeps scanning for danger, measuring time, clinging to control. But a regulated system broadcasts safety. Safety is the frequency of already here, and only from that baseline can you embody the state you want. It's like tuning an instrument. If the strings are tense and chaotic, no melody can emerge. But once tuned, even the simplest note vibrates into beauty. Your body is the instrument. Coherence is the tuning. Let's make it practical. Next time you catch yourself asking when, stop. Drop your shoulders. Breathe in through your nose slowly. Hold and exhale longer than your inhale. Feel your heart slow down. Notice the ground under your feet. In that moment, you've stepped out of time and into coherence. That's the space where collapse becomes possible. Not because you forced it, but because you aligned with it. And here's the ultimate paradox. The moment you no longer care about when, it begins to happen faster. The moment you stop measuring, you start receiving. Because the field doesn't recognize your watch. It recognizes your state. When your state says it's already here, the universe has no choice but to agree. If you're feeling this, let me know in the comments with the word you choose to live as this week. One word and one frequency, one collapse. And now comes the piece most people overlook. What you call delay is often not delay at all. It's protection, calibration, alignment. The field isn't ignoring you, it's reorganizing you. Because if the version of you right now can't yet sustain what you're asking for, the universe will not hand you collapse, it will hand you practice. That practice often shows up as waiting, but it's not waiting, it's nervous system training. Think about a singer stepping onto a stage. If their breath is shallow and their body is tense, the note will crack under pressure. The song is already written, the stage already exists, the microphone is ready. The only missing piece is coherence in the body. And the time it takes to stabilize the breath is not punishment, it's preparation. The same is true for manifestation. The field is ready. The probability exists. What unfolds as delay is often just your system learning to hold the note without collapse. This explains why some people seem to get everything so fast. It's not luck. It's regulation. Their nervous system is already trained to hold safety and expansion, so collapse happens quickly. Others are still looping in survival, waiting for external proof to feel safe, which delays the coherence needed. It's not that the universe favors one person over another, it's that coherence accelerates collapse and dysregulation delays it. You felt this in everyday life. Waiting for someone to text back, your stomach tightens, your thoughts race, you check the screen over and over. That's not just impatience, it's dysregulation. And from that state, everything feels slower, heavier, further away. Now contrast it with a moment you were so immersed in joy that you forgot to check your phone at all. Hours passed, and suddenly the notification was there. Same timeline, different embodiment. One collapses delay, the other amplifies it, which means deadlines are not your enemy. Attachment to them is. Because deadlines can inspire focus, but when they become cages, they shift your signal into resistance, and resistance blocks coherence. Imagine a gardener shouting at a seed, demanding it bloom by Tuesday. The soil doesn't obey pressure. It responds to care, consistency, and trust. The bloom arrives not when forced, but when conditions align. That's manifestation, not by force, by frequency, Not by demand, by coherence. And here's the liberation. Once you stop tying your worth to the clock, you free yourself from the illusion of too late. The universe doesn't operate in scarcity of time. It operates in infinity of potential, which means the thing you thought you missed, the chance you thought expired, the path you thought was closed, it's not gone. It's waiting for your coherence to line up, regardless of what your calendar says. So the real mastery is not speed, it's stability. Can you embody the arrival long enough for the field to mirror it back? Can you regulate your system when impatience whispers? Can you stabilize the note until the timeline collapses naturally? Because when you can, deadlines dissolve, and the field responds as if there was never a gap at all. If this resonates, pause right now and name the frequency you choose to stabilize. Not tomorrow, not next month, but right here. Write it down, speak it out. Let your body feel it. That is the collapse point. And here's where the deepest paradox reveals itself. The moment you stop bargaining with time, you begin bending it. You stop asking, when will it come? And you start living as though it's already here. And that shift is not just mindset. It's measurable biology. Heart-brain coherence studies show that when the heart rhythm becomes ordered and the brain waves synchronize, the body broadcasts a magnetic field that extends far beyond the skin. That field doesn't carry the frequency of waiting. It carries the frequency of having. And the universe, which responds to coherence like a tuning fork, mirrors that state back with events, people, opportunities. But the trap is subtle, because even when people try to feel as if, they're still secretly measuring time. They meditate but peek one eye open to see if reality changed yet. They journal their intentions but then scroll through Instagram comparing who's already ahead. They practice gratitude but end every sentence with, but when will it actually happen? That's not coherence. That's performance layered over doubt. The nervous system can't be tricked. It only transmits what it feels safe to embody. Think of this in terms of theater. An actor doesn't convince the audience by reciting lines nervously while waiting for applause. They embody the role so fully that the crowd forgets it's a performance. Reality bends inside the theater because embodiment suspends disbelief. And the same mechanism applies to manifestation. Your reality bends not because you repeat affirmations, but because you inhabit the state so fully that the field suspends delay. And neuroscience backs this. Neuroplasticity reshapes your brain when repetition and emotion fire together. That means if you repeatedly embody impatience with strong emotion, you wire impatience as your identity. But if you repeatedly embody certainty with strong emotion, you wire arrival. Every repetition is training the brain, every sensation is training the body, and eventually, your biology holds a new identity as naturally as it once held lack. Here's a simple example. A woman wants financial stability. Each day she opens her bank app with dread, reinforcing scarcity. One day she decides differently. She stops checking the app, begins moving through her day with the state of already provided for. At first it feels fake, but her body slowly learns safety in that state. Weeks later, an unexpected opportunity arises, one she couldn't have planned. From the outside, it looks like luck. From the inside, it was coherence, biology transmitting safety until the field collapsed a timeline to match. Notice again, not by counting days, by stabilizing state, not by chasing time, by becoming timeless. And maybe you've experienced this in micro moments. A friend you thought of calls out of nowhere. A door opens the week you stopped worrying about it. An invitation arrives just as you surrendered the need. Those aren't accidents. They're coherence signatures. Evidence that the field mirrors your embodiment, not your deadline. So the invitation is this. Stop living like a clock watcher. Start living like a calibrator. Instead of asking, when will it arrive? Ask, what frequency am I broadcasting right now? Because time does not deliver manifestation, coherence does. And once coherence is embodied, time has no choice but to bend. And notice how this changes your entire relationship with patience. Most people think patience means tolerating emptiness until something finally shows up. But true patience in the quantum sense is not waiting. It's being. It's the ability to live inside the frequency of arrival without needing proof from the clock. When you embody patience like that, you're not passive. You're actively transmitting coherence, and coherence, again and again, bends probability faster than force ever could. Look back at your own life. Remember the job you wanted so badly, the one you thought was slipping away. You rehearsed the interview questions in your head at night, your chest tight with fear of not getting it. Days dragged, minutes stretched like rubber bands. And then compare that to a time when you unexpectedly got an opportunity, maybe a message from someone you hadn't spoken to in years, maybe an offer that felt out of the blue. In that moment, you weren't waiting, you were living, and that's why it arrived. The less you obsessed over time, the faster the collapse. Physics offers the metaphor clearly. Particles don't collapse when measured by the clock. They collapse when observed coherently. The act of observation is not about how long you look. It's about how aligned the observation is. If your observation is fractured, impatient, scattered, the collapse doesn't stabilize. But if your observation is whole, embodied, regulated, the probability field reorganizes instantly. The key isn't duration. It's depth. Think of a chef cooking. If they keep lifting the lid every 2 minutes to check the food, the meal takes longer and the flavor never settles. But if they trust the process, regulate the heat, and let the ingredients harmonize, the dish completes itself perfectly. That's coherence. That's why the field responds to presence, not pressure. So here's the practical pivot. When you notice yourself checking, measuring, comparing, label it. Say quietly in your mind, time loop. Then break the loop. Regulate your breath, bring your body back to now, and embody the state you'd have if it were already done. That micro-shift is training your biology every single time to stabilize coherence. And the more often you train it, the less your system falls into lack. And don't underestimate this. When you shift your nervous system, you shift your entire timeline, because your biology is not separate from the field, it's the interface with it. The heart, broadcasting electromagnetic waves. The brain, projecting coherent patterns. The cells, vibrating states into the space around you. You're not waiting for reality. You're writing it with every signal you emit. So the next time you feel the panic of it's taking too long, ask yourself, am I waiting or am I broadcasting? Because waiting is absence. Broadcasting is arrival, and the field only mirrors one of those. If this is resonating, let's anchor it. Drop into the comments the word you choose to broadcast now. One word that embodies arrival. That act alone is a signal. And here's where the illusion of too late dissolves completely. You've been told that chances expire, that if it hasn't happened by a certain age, a certain month, a certain milestone, then the door is closed. But that belief only exists inside the calendar of human culture, not inside the field of infinite possibility. In quantum terms, every potential continues to exist until coherence collapses it, which means the reality you think you missed hasn't vanished. It's still vibrating in the field, waiting for you to meet it in frequency. This is why some people reinvent their lives at 50, 60, 70. A musician who never touched an instrument suddenly learns and thrives. A relationship blooms decades after someone thought love had passed them by. A dream career opens not in youth but in so-called midlife. From the perspective of the clock, it looks delayed. From the perspective of coherence, it was always available, waiting for the moment the nervous system could stabilize it. Think about it in terms of the sky. Stars we see at night may have released their light thousands of years ago, yet the signal is only reaching us now. Was it too late? No. The signal simply arrived in its perfect alignment with our perception. Manifestation works the same way. What you perceive as late is only alignment arriving when your system is finally coherent enough to recognize it. This is why identity is everything. If you keep identifying with the version of you who is running out of time, your biology will project scarcity and the field will mirror delay. But if you shift identity into the version of you who is timeless, who lives as if what you want is already here, you collapse the timeline instantly. Identity is neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is coherence, and coherence is collapse. Let me ground this with a real scenario. A man keeps saying, "It's too late for me to start over." His nervous system translates that into resignation. His body broadcasts that signal daily. Opportunities pass by, confirming his belief. But one day he reframes, what if time doesn't matter? What if I can embody possibility now? He begins moving, speaking, living from that frequency. His biology changes first. Then the field follows. Suddenly doors appear where walls once seemed permanent. Not because the clock shifted, because his coherence did. And this brings us to the truth. You are not racing time. You are training coherence. The deadlines you fear are illusions. The only thing that matters is the frequency you stabilize. Because when you stabilize it long enough, the field reorganizes, and the very reality you thought had passed you by emerges right in front of you. So instead of asking, is it too late? Ask, am I coherent yet? Because the universe doesn't mirror age or dates or deadlines. It mirrors embodiment. And once you embody, you realize there was never any lateness at all. So here we are, the final unraveling of the illusion. If manifestation does not obey your clock, then what does it obey? It obeys coherence. It obeys the transmission of your nervous system, your heart field, your embodied state. The question was never, when will it happen? The real question has always been, can I sustain the vibration of its arrival long enough for reality to have no choice but to mirror it? And here's the liberation. The moment you stop negotiating with time, you stop leaking energy into resistance, you stop waking up every morning measuring your life against deadlines, and start living in the rhythm of timelessness, you begin to feel what quantum physicists have been pointing to for decades, that past, present, and future all exist simultaneously, and your body is the selector. Your embodiment chooses which slice of infinity you step into. This isn't abstract, it's practical. When you calm your nervous system, when you breathe into presence, when you let your body feel safe in the state of already here, you are collapsing timelines in real time. The job, the love, the healing, the opportunity. They stop being future events and start being accessible realities, because the field does not care about your clock, it only cares about your signal. So imagine this. Instead of staring at the horizon asking, how much longer? You look down and realize the ground beneath your feet is already the place you were trying to reach. Instead of chasing tomorrow, you embody now. And in that embodiment, tomorrow bends toward you. That's the quantum paradox. The fastest way is to stop running. The most direct path is to stop measuring, not by chasing time, by dissolving it, not by pressure, by presence. And this is what it means to become timeless. To live as if your desires are already here, not in performance, but in coherence. To let your biology hum with the frequency of arrival so consistently that the field collapses around it. This is why manifestation doesn't follow human deadlines. Because human time is linear, but reality is quantum. Linear asks when. Quantum asks, who are you being right now? So the invitation is clear. Don't try to push the calendar. Don't try to bend the clock. Train coherence. Regulate your nervous system. Embody the arrival. And watch how the field responds. Not later, not someday, but as soon as alignment is stabilized. If you felt this transmission, let it echo. Drop the word you are choosing to embody now in the comments. That word is not just language. It's frequency. It's collapse. And if you're ready to keep exploring how science and spirit weave together, hit subscribe and join this community of coherence. Because here, we don't chase timelines. We collapse them together.